In the heart of America's bluegrass country, where the rhythm of life echoed the steady beat of sewing machines, there lived a woman named Evelyn Harris. Her life was a tapestry woven with threads of joy and sorrow. At 75, her hands, much like the tools of a craftsman, bore the marks of a life well lived. The wrinkles etched on her palms were stories of laughter and toil, of meals shared and dreams nurtured. Evelyn's world revolved around the small details, the way sunlight filtered through the kitchen window, painting stripes of warmth on the floor, the gentle hum of her sewing machine, or the aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the scent of blooming roses in her garden. These were the threads that made up her everyday existence. Her late husband, Frank, a man whose absence left a void in her heart and in the community they called home, had been the anchor of their lives, his memory lingering in the house like the faint scent of pipe tobacco. He'd been known for his infectious laugh, a sound that used to resonate through the house and spill out onto the porch. But since his passing, silence had become a frequent guest in her home. However, Evie refused to let the silence consume her. Instead, she found solace in the simple act of quilting. With nimble fingers, she'd stitch together scraps of material, each piece holding a memory. For instance, she'd use pieces of Frank's old work shirts, their children's baby clothes, or floral prints that reminded her of her mother's aprons. She'd arrange these fabrics on her small table by her front window, stitching away the hours in quiet contentment. Often she would hum softly, a tune Frank loved to dance to, making it seem as though he were still waltzing in her heart. She had a ritual. Every time she completed a patch, she would step back, admire her handiwork, and say in a voice that was both strong and soft, "One more square, Frank." For the ones who need it, this ritual wasn't just about the quilts that adorned her house. It was a conversation between her and her late husband, a way for her to feel his presence in the echoes of her humming and the rhythm of her sewing. One day, as Evie sat on her porch, immersed in her quilting, a young woman named Kayla approached. Kayla was a young mother who had moved to Lexington from a big city. For her, the move was more of an escape than anything else. She wanted to raise her daughter away from the chaos and noise. But the transition hadn't been easy. She missed her friends, her familiar surroundings, and most of all, she grappled with a sense of displacement. Holding a worn baby blanket, she knocked timidly on Evie's door. "Miss Evie, could you fix this? It's my daughter's favorite." Her voice was small, mirroring the size of her townhome, in comparison to the grand houses she'd known back in the city. Evie, ever kind, and seeing the wariness in Kayla's eyes, smiled warmly and ushered her in. "Of course, dear, come back tomorrow." And so began an unlikely friendship that transcended age and circumstance. Every afternoon, Kayla would arrive with a small mending job, a torn hem, a missing button, or a faded seam. And every evening, Evie would have it ready, not just fixed, but better. Her touch making the fabric feel brand new. For Evie, it wasn't just about the sewing. It was about the company, the shared silence, and the occasional stories that wove their way into the quiet afternoons. News of Evie's quiet kindness spread like wildfire through the close-knit community of Lexington. It started with whispers on the porch swings as neighbors sipped their sweet tea, then moved on to the grocery aisles where the latest gossip was traded like precious gems. Soon, everyone on Main Street seemed to know about Evie and her porch mending. People began dropping by with their own fabric scraps, not just for repairs, but also to contribute to something bigger, something they didn't quite understand yet, but trusted Evie to lead them through. An elderly gentleman named Samuel arrived with a piece of curtain that had seen better days. "My wife used to love these," he said, his voice cracking slightly. "Mending was her thing. I don't know how to do it." Evie took the fabric, her eyes full of understanding. "We'll figure it out, Mr. Williams. Don't worry." A young mother Mothé came bearing a doll's dress that had been torn in a playful tussle. "It looks so sad without its dress," she said, "but I can't seem to get the darned thing to stay together." Evie smiled, her hands already itching for a new project. "Bring it by tomorrow, dear. We'll make it a masterpiece." And so it went. Days turned into weeks, and Evie's small porch became a hub of activity. People would sit on the steps leading to her porch, watching her work, sharing stories, and at times, shedding tears. Through it all, Evie remained calm, guiding them, teaching them, and making sure everyone felt welcome. She was like a lighthouse keeper, offering warmth and direction to ships navigating a storm. One day, Evie sat back to admire her handiwork. She had arranged all the pieces on a large sheet, and as she looked at the patchwork, a smile lit up her face. It was beautiful, not because of the expensive fabric or the intricate patterns, but because of the stories it held. She realized that she wasn't just putting a community back together with her needle and thread, she was weaving hope back into their lives. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across Main Street, Evie gathered everyone around her porch. They were a motley crew, united by their love for their town and their newfound family. There were old men with calloused hands, young mothers with tired eyes, and children with dirt-stained knees, all listening intently as Evie spoke. "We have something special here," she began, her voice echoing with emotion. "A community bound not by blood, but by the strength of our shared experiences and the quiet comfort of knowing we're not alone." Her words hung in the air like the scent of honeysuckle, sweet and nostalgic. Then, gesturing to the quilt, she continued, "Each piece tells a story of laughter, of loss, of love, and most importantly, of hope." As Evie spoke, the townspeople looked at the quilt, their faces reflecting the colors of the fabric, their eyes shining with unshed tears. The quilt wasn't just a collection of patches anymore. It was a testament to their resilience, a silent promise that even in the darkest of times, the light of community could shine through. With trembling hands, Samuel, the oldest of the group, stepped forward. He reached out to touch a particular square, his eyes filled with a lifetime of memories. "This," he said, his voice hoarse with emotion, "this was my wife's favorite piece of fabric. She always said it reminded her of the sky on our wedding day." As he spoke, others began sharing their stories, their voices weaving together to form a tapestry of emotions. Martha, the young mother, pointed to a small patch. "This," she said, smiling through tears, "was my grandmother's apron. She used to make the best apple pie with it." For a moment, the porch was filled with stories, each one adding a new layer to the quilt, making it more than just fabric, making it a monument to their shared humanity. Evie watched them, her heart swelling with pride. She had brought them together, yes, but they were the ones sharing their stories, mending not just their clothes, but also their hearts. In the end, the quilt became more than just a physical object. It became a symbol of their unity, a reminder that they were stronger together than they were apart. Under the vast Kentucky sky, they stood united, bound together by threads of memory, love, and the quiet comfort of a shared past. The story of Evie Harris is one of quiet strength and subtle grace. It's a reminder that sometimes the smallest actions can have the biggest impact, that a simple quilt can be a vessel for healing, and that the bonds of community can be mended, just like a torn fabric, with a little care, a lot of patience, and above all, with love.